I consider this piece one of the most important artworks I've ever drawn. I will tell you why, but to understand it, you need to learn about a tradition that is still practiced and that is so awful that it horrifies any foreigner who hears about it for the first time. Are you ready to learn about it? Today we will talk about Czech Easter. So please just imagine this scenario with me. You are a young girl, a child. One day, a group of your boy classmates comes to your door. As you open it, you are greeted with a bucket of cold water dropped onto your head, which is very unpleasant in the spring weather. Then they start hitting your behind with woven wooden sticks. When you recollect yourself and change your drenched clothes, a bunch of drunk old men from the neighborhood come and the whole ordeal repeats. Your parents are present. Your mom goes through the same thing. They tell you to give your classmates and the very amused men some reward in the form of chocolate for the former and more alcohol for the latter. You might also give them eggs you hand-painted yourself for the occasion. You should also thank them kindly for bothering to come over in the first place. The next day, you compare bruises with your girl classmates, because they went through the same thing yesterday. The whole thing is completely legal, accepted, and even encouraged. It's Easter, and you live in the Czech Republic. It sounds vile when I describe it like this, doesn't it? I was thinking about softening the blow. I wanted to tell you that the purpose of this tradition is to bring youthfulness and good health to the women and girls. But that makes it sound worse. Because why should we be the ones staying young? Plus, ending up with a nasty cold after getting soaked in the early spring weather screams healthy. I wanted to say that the beating is supposed to be light and symbolic. A gentle caress of the willow branches woven together into a stick decorated with bows. But I remember the bruises. I remember the glint of joy some of the men and boys had on their face when they did the deed, hitting a bit too hard. Whether it was due to the alcohol or some sort of unresolved frustration. I remember some of the bastards carrying a juniper branch because they knew it hurts more. I wanted to mention that the tradition was first made so that both boys and girls had the sticks and could freely hit each other, but that's not the way it was practiced here for ages. I debated saying that some of the older women or young girls claim to enjoy it for the attention they get from the men and look badly at the ones who dare to criticize it. But that just reeks of internalized misogyny. I thought about saying that if all parties consent, they can do whatever they want and keep the tradition if they wish, which is true. But I personally never saw that consent being given without at least a little bit of coercion. So I won't say anything. I experienced many of such Easters when I was younger. It was the classic village life experience. My mom hated it too, but it was very hard to say no when you would be looked down upon as ruining the fun, or when your no would be taken as a challenge, or would be dismissed, because the men of course know better than you, and of course you're actually enjoying it. You're just playing hard to get. Or when you're a child and have no say in it. Eventually, my mom and I learned to not open the door, no matter how persistent the bell ringing was. We would plan a trip on that day or pretend we're not home. Later, when I got a bit older, I deliberately told all the men in my life that I absolutely despise this tradition and don't want to partake in it. Some of them didn't care and still went ahead with it. The Czech Easter tradition is a representation of everything I hate about the Czech society. To this day, we are teaching young boys that it's okay to hit a girl when the circumstances are right, and to even be rewarded for it. We don't tell the boys to be gentle. We tell the girls they should endure it because it's just one day in the year. We are teaching young girls that they should allow old, drunk men to hit them and berate them because it's fun. And that it's perfectly normal when their no is not taken as a valid answer. Or that when they disagree with something, they'll just be guilt-tripped into it. We reward the drunk man with even more alcohol, so that their judgment of what is still accepted is even cloudier. I don't blame Easter for all the problems our country has, but I can't help but see a little parallel with all the issues Czech society has. To this day, the Czech legal system has a problem with giving appropriate punishments to abusers. Thankfully, the law was finally changed last year to the absence of consent. Before, the victims had to actively defend themselves for it to be considered rape. But that won't stop our judges from giving laughable sentences to the criminals that commit these things. Last year, when I was writing an article on Easter, which turned into this video, there was a man repeatedly molesting his underage stepdaughter. His punishment? A fine and a suspended sentence. The reasoning? It didn't have a significant impact on the victim. I do have to say this sentencing caused an outrage in our country, which is wonderful. But did things change? Apparently not, because this year we have another great example. Intoxicating and raping a woman who then has to get an abortion will also just get you a suspended sentence. No fine this time. The reasoning is the same. The victim is able to deal with trauma well, so it didn't have any significant impact on her. And I'm tired. I'm so tired of having so many examples to give you. Victim blaming is a national sport here. If you dismiss a girl's no during a holiday that is supposed to be fun, when you don't consider how she may feel, when you find it funny you're hurting her in any way, degrading her by beating and drenching her in water, how can you take her point of view seriously when it comes to abuse? And how can she feel safe talking about this in the first place when she was treated like this as a child? You can see a lovely example of that whenever Easter comes around. Because even though it might not be practiced as much in the cities, it still is in the villages. And many women have their own Easter horror story from their childhood. So every year, more and more women come forward talking about it, sharing their experiences in social media posts and comments. And would you really be surprised if I told you that sooner or later, the comments get flooded with opinions, mostly by men, but also from some women, devaluing these experiences. You're overreacting, it's not that bad. I never hit hard, so no one else does. I never got bruises, so all of the other women are making this up. Easter is a beautiful tradition, and if you can't take a beating once a year, you're a wuss. So you can tell me whatever you want. You can defend it, you can say I'm overreacting. But I will always hate the Czech Easter tradition for what it represents. So now that you know the context, we're getting back to this artwork. It always bothered me that Easter falls on my favorite season of the year and puts a little stain on the wonderful time when nature wakes up and everything is so positive and cheerful. That's why I'm painting eggs for myself this year, just for the joy of it, because the egg painting tradition is actually lovely. And that's also why I drew this illustration last year. The girl in it is breaking the wooden stick that is used during Easter. The artwork is a healing one. It's there to remind you that your no should be heard, that your discomfort should be taken seriously, that being angry about something is perfectly fine and you're not overreacting, that you can go ahead and break that metaphorical or actual whip. It was a Patreon print, but I brought it back this year because, as I said, I still consider it the most important artwork I've ever made. It's an artwork my child self needed to see in this world. If Czech Easter also had an impact on you, or anything I talked about resonated, if your no was ever dismissed, this artwork is here for you too. If you'd like the girl in this illustration to be there for you when you feel like your voice is not being heard, to support you when a man suggests that he knows what you're thinking much better than you do, to give you the courage to say no to things, you can now get it in my shop. I even have it in 2 sizes, a bigger A5 or a smaller postcard A6. To my fellow Czech people, I dare you to send this to your traditional family as an Easter holiday card. This video took a lot of energy and probably a few years out of my lifespan, but I'm glad I made it. I did it for my child self and for any girl or woman who was or still is, forced to be a part of this tradition against her will. Did you know about the Czech Easter tradition? Foreigners are usually quite horrified when they hear about it for the first time. And I'm not surprised by that. I hated it as a child, being forced to participate in it. I hate it even more now, knowing that it's still done to this day. This is one of the traditions that could disappear altogether. And I wouldn't mind in the slightest.